Hello there, Commonwealth from here. Nintendo maybe should have revealed something for the Game Awards after all, since it seems that we have gotten our first big Breath of the Wild 2 leak. And then I mean patents, it's not gameplay, it's not screenshots or anything, but it's not patents. That explains a lot of how the gameplay is going to evolve in the sequel to Breath of the Wild. It ties a lot to the Sky gameplay, it ties a lot to some of the stuff we have already seen, like with the kinetic gameplay and time reversal that we saw in the E3 teaser. So before I'm gonna go any further, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, but I'm also gonna warn you of spoilers. Like, if you don't want to hear about this until Nintendo reveals it in any trailer or whatsoever, then be sure to not watch this video. But if you want to know anything more about Breath of the Wild sequel, you're not going to learn the title here or anything, because that is still confidential. Nothing of that has leaked. But if you want to know a little bit more about the gameplay of how this game is going to be, then continue watching. So the things that have leaked are the whole kinetic things that we have already seen, like time reversal. It's being indicated on this icon, like reverse item and use the weapon of your enemy to send it back at him. And that is something we already knew from E3. It's not much new. It just shows the different possibilities that they are playing around with now that the Sheikah Slate might be out of the picture following Breath of the Wild. And this is a perfect example that shows things that are going to be surface-based gameplay, so on the existing open world that we have and is being reused from Breath of the Wild. What is far more interesting though is the second part of the patent, which literally points out the evolution of the gameplay of freefall. Literally, when you're falling down, when you jump, the big innovation in Breath of the Wild, the X button, which made it possible to jump, and then the freefall that followed out of that, or pulling out paraglider by pressing X again. And we had three modes of falling in Breath of the Wild. You could either use arrow time and pulling out your bow and arrow in midair, which would trigger a slow motion effect. Could have normal falling, so falling down to your death, unless you open up your paraglider, which would then limit your fall and also let you glide in a particular direction. What we saw, however, in the E3 teaser of 2021 is diving fall, the one that we also know from Skyward Sword, where you would fall and unleash the sailcloth that we had in Skyward Sword. So there's no doubt that they are evolving on the gameplay that was found in both Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword when using this pattern that has now leaked out. Diving falling was one of them, but we also have two other ones. One being high velocity falling, and the final one being backward falling. And why would you have high velocity falling? Well, to speed, to get faster down to ground than even by normal falling. But the second one is actually very interesting, because you are then on having your back to wherever you are falling. And that is a quite interesting concept, because it creates a lot of different maneuverability when it comes to combat. Because the only thing we could really do in air when pulling the string and unleashing an arrow from our bow was literally just standing in a normal falling position, slow motion obviously. But what seems to be the case in the sequel is that we're also going to have a downward position in probably also slow motion, where we can target while falling down, and thus also probably get that kinetic energy that the fall is unleashing when we are trying to hit an enemy or an opponent. So the physics engine is very much alive if we look at these patents. It's going to be taking advantage of gravity, both when it comes to attacking from a downward ready posture, but the same goes with an upward ready posture, where gravity is going to work against us. So we're going to have to really focus our aim and also velocity on how we are able to hit enemies. Like when we're hitting upward, you're going to face more resistance. When you fell downwards, you're going to get help from gravity. And that's what makes this very interesting, because it all points to that Sky gameplay is going to be very deep, intricate, and most of all have a very important point in Breath of the Wild, because you don't develop mechanics like these just to use them in a small section of the game. No, this is going to be a major section of the game, and it's obvious that when Eiji Aonuma said that they have expanded the world to the Sky, they're also expanding the gameplay and evolving it from Breath of the Wild. So Link is going to become far more maneuverable in the Sky, and it's probable that the same thing is going to apply on the ground. Link was already maneuverable there, but there's definitely going to be evolution there. Alright, when I thought it was just about the Sky and a little bit of a recap from E3 2021, it also turns out that it is actually also patent leaks on the ground, which is quite remarkable to say the least, because I did not expect this in the slightest. But this patent goes far deeper than we thought, and it also tells us a little bit more about on the ground and how Link will be able to move pretty much through terrain objects that we already pretty much saw in a demonstration of when moving up to the Sky. But it also indicates that we could maybe see something of a similar transport system underground, which could hint that the underground is far more than just the opening area of Breath of the Wild 2. Of course, what I'm saying now is speculation. Anything outside of the patent itself is going to be speculation. It's just my thoughts on it. So we've now covered the sky, we've covered a little bit of the underground, but it is clear that Link will be able to move through objects, whether that will be on the ground or on the surface and many other areas as well. So it's as simple as that. Maybe this doesn't actually partake so much to the underground, but we see also obstacles that could be in the way. Like spikes that could be in the way from Link just morphing through these obstacles, or layers, because we're talking about layers here, the 3 layers on the ground, surface and sky that Link can go through. But if there is deadly objects, say spikes or anything as illustrated in this patent, then there's no way that Link is going to be able to go through. They are using examples like a condition satisfied and a condition unsatisfied, which explains a lot about how this is also going to work. But we also see that it goes the other way around as well, that there are going to be certain conditions for Link in order to move through these layers. If it's going to be too thick of a layer, or if there is, say, an opening in the middle, then it's not going to be possible for Link to go through them. So it's very interesting what they are playing around it. It's just both gameplay changes, but also kind of playing around with the layers that the world is. Like in Breath of the Wild, we only had the surface, and then we could go underground to the Sheikah shrines, but those were bound structures that you couldn't move out, and you had to use an elevator or by reaching the monk be teleported out of the shrine. This, however, implicates that you will be able to move across the different layers of the world, whether that is on the ground, on the surface, or in the sky, which creates possibilities that we have not seen in literally any other Zelda game prior. They are just expanding this physics and chemistry engine that Breath of the Wild nailed back in 2017 and just adding to it. And this is exactly what a sequel that is reusing the same world needs to do. Reinvent how we see the world that we already know, while also adding new elements such as underground and sky. And it makes me uber excited about what we're going to see next. And I really hope Nintendo's not going to wait too long with revealing, because, well, partially the cat is out of the bag, and we know a little bit more about the depth that this game is going to go through, literal depths, whether that being through freefall and arrow time or simply moving through layers and objects. So what do you think about this gameplay evolution of literally making Link a far and even bigger badass when it comes in midair, on the ground, with some of the things we have already seen, and now the first things that we are seeing detailed by the patent? Sound off in the comment section down below. This was a quick one because we don't have much more information on that, but this is brand new Breath of the Wild information, and it's coming from patents that have leaked and are officially available right now. So yeah, if you want to check it out yourself, it's possible. Yeah, this is making me so much more excited, and I'm just gonna say we have another Breath of the Wild 2 video later this week. So if it's already up, go and check it out. But if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe, press the notification bell, and as always, a big thanks to all patreon.com/commonroll patrons, and in particular to our roller producer Charles Shesh. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these 2 very awesome videos, and hopefully this is the very beginning of far more information on Breath of the Wild 2.